Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
Who is the real Kandise Sheahen? Prosecutor Sidney Brubaker stood in front of a jury in May 2025 and asked them this question. Was Kandise a devoted granddaughter, caring for an ailing family member? Was she truly an enthusiastic advocate for alternative medicine, yearning to help people get better?
My goal in doing this is truly to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Hence the reason the name of my business is Hands and Feet of Jesus Supplements. I'm not doing this for the money. I truly want to help people, and I want them to get off of all the crap that the healthcare system puts them on.
Or was Kandise dangerous? Was she someone who hated modern-day medicine so much it would lead to tragic results? The main question posed to the jury, however, was Kandise Sheahen responsible for her grandmother's death? This is Jillian in partnership with Law and Crime. You are listening to Court Junkie. By the time I go to bed at night, I am exhausted. I don't want to blame my little 2-year-old for that, but if you know, you know. Thankfully, I don't have to go too far to relax. I can escape into my warm, comfy bed with my Boll & Branch signature sheets. And ever since I added their coveted waffle blanket, my bed is now my sanctuary. Boll & Branch's signature sheets and waffle bed blanket are a must-have bedding combination. The signature sheet set, as I've talked about before, is essential with its buttery soft feel that gets softer with every wash. And then you have the waffle bed blanket, which is soft and light. Together, they create the softest, most breathable bedding experience designed for better sleep in every season. Both are woven by artisans with the finest 100% organic cotton and highest level of craftsmanship. Both are made to get softer with every wash, and both are designed to mix and match with over 300 color combinations. Best of all, they are yours to try with a 30-night worry-free guarantee. Now that I've got this combo on my bed, I will never go back. You can tell immediately how high-quality Boll & Branch is, and I really do think my sleep has improved. Discover a softness beyond your wildest dreams with Boll & Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/court with the code COURT. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/court, code COURT to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. Court Junkie is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. Today's episode begins in Marathon County, Wisconsin, on a cold winter morning, January 8th, 2022. Wausau police officer Kyle Bukowski had been dispatched to an emergency call that came in at 7:06 a.m. He was the first officer to arrive at the scene at 1719 Garfield Avenue. I saw an elderly female who was sitting in her chair, and I viewed her, and it was obvious to me that she was deceased, he would later testify. The deceased woman was dressed in a green shirt and black pants. Her body was in the living room, sitting on a reclining couch with pillows and blankets on it. She clutched a rainbow-colored teddy bear with her right arm, which also had an IV, the officer noticed. He later realized she had a catheter in. The woman's name was Aline Schrader. At 82, Aline had been in poor health. She was 5'2", 280 pounds. Aline had been a mother of 3 children and a grandmother to 5, which included her oldest granddaughter, Kandise Sheahen. Kandise and her grandmother were especially close. Kandise was Aline's caregiver and her power of attorney. That meant Kandise made health decisions for her. Aline was extremely loved by her family, who called her Nana or Tootie, according to court testimony. One grandson described her as joyful and resilient. Aline was a widow who had worked as a housekeeper in a hospital for 3 decades, according to her obituary. Prosecutor Sidney Brubaker asked Officer Bukowski if he saw anything suspicious when responding to the scene. At the time, no, Officer Bukowski testified. Everything appeared to be normal to me, and there were no obvious signs that anything criminal had occurred. Under cross, Kandise's defense attorney asked him, "You actually stated that it appeared that the deceased had died comfortably and in peace, correct?" "I believe those were my exact words in my report. That's the best way that I could describe it based on my personal observations. That's how she appeared, in my opinion." The police contacted the medical examiner's office, and Aline's body was taken to a funeral home. Kandise reportedly wanted Aline's body cremated within 24 hours. The investigators' mindset quickly changed. Even though nothing had seemed amiss at first, suspicion began to mount that something criminal had happened at Aline's home. Aline Schrader's family was deeply divided by her death. Shortly after, a family member contacted the police department to voice concerns about what happened and to raise alarm about Kandise's comments that were circulating on Facebook. Kandise was furious when she found out that some of her family was suspicious of her. She wrote, "Her selfish little asshole grandkids, whoever it was that called and said I killed Grandma, that it was COVID or diabetes or whatever." In court, some of Kandise's family members called her a master manipulator and a schemer. One of Aline's other grandchildren, Jonathan Schrader, testified that Kandise had a history of causing dysfunction and trouble within their family. He recalled that beginning around 2017, Kandise inserted herself into his grandparents' lives and began to exert control over Aline's personal care. He testified that for several years, Kandise drove a wedge between his grandparents, ultimately fracturing their over 60-year marriage. He said Kandise convinced Aline that living with her would mean love, safety, and stability, but in truth, what followed was isolation, abuse, and exploitation. He told the court that just a few months before Aline's death, she called him and that he would never forget the fear in her voice. "My grandma told us she was scared to live with Kandise, but felt she had nowhere else to go," he said. "She believed that the rest of our family couldn't be trusted because that's what Kandise told her to believe." He said Kandise had isolated Aline from those who loved her most. As for why, he said she did it for control and financial gain. Kandise accessed funds that didn't belong to her, he said. "They were my grandma's. She collected benefits from the government under false pretenses that should never have been disbursed to her." He said after learning that his grandma had passed away, his dad said Kandise killed her. But not everyone disliked Kandise, a mom who homeschooled her kids. She had been a registered nurse for 15 years, but was fired after refusing to get vaccinated during the COVID-19 pandemic. She recruited some of her old patients and helped take care of them after she had been forced out of her job. Many of her patients adored Kandise and had really positive things to say about her. They raved about her, in fact. One called her the best nurse she had ever had. Detective Nate Stetzer, whose job was to investigate anything from petty theft to homicide, got assigned to Aleen's case. He was a detective at the time, although he would later get promoted to lieutenant. The first sign that something was off was when the medical examiner's office alerted him that they had questions about Aleen's catheter and IV. And so the investigation began. Lieutenant Stetzer first called Kandise. He interviewed her during a Zoom call. I verified that Kandise was the power of attorney for Aleen and went through several medications that Aleen was on in that interview, he testified. I had also learned that Kandise was selling a type of vitamin at that time, and the vitamin was called Q-Core, and that Aleen had been on that medication. Lieutenant Stetzer interviewed Kandise again, this time in person at the police station. He began to learn more about the grandmother and the granddaughter who had been taking care of her. Aleen was a type 2 diabetic and was on several doctor-prescribed medications to control her blood sugar levels. She had been insulin-dependent for 30 years. For me, it was relevant because her grandmother was diabetic, and it would play a factor in medications that were prescribed by a doctor, Lieutenant Stetzer testified. Kandise told him that she reminded Aleen to take her medications or would check her grandma's blood sugar levels, but said she wasn't going to force the medications down Aleen's throat. As part of his investigation, Lieutenant Stetzer filed a search warrant to obtain information stored on Facebook. If I recall correctly, I believe it was 10,000 pages of information, he testified. Kandise's social media posts and private messages online were central to the prosecution's case. For weeks before Aleen's death, it appeared as though Kandise had been determined to get her grandmother off insulin. She also had been an enthusiastic cheerleader for Q-Core. The defense described Q-Core as simply a fancy name for a multivitamin. Kandise wrote the following on December 22, 2021. I have to share this incredible story. Don't let anyone tell you or a loved one that slightly modified nutrition and good, high-quality supplements don't help with diabetes. My 81-year-old grandmother was on 30 units of long-acting insulin twice daily and 15 units of short-acting insulin twice daily for the last couple of years. 5 days ago, she started Q-Core supplements, and thank Jesus, she is off her short-acting insulin completely and down 10 units of long-acting once a day. I also mentioned she said her joints feel like she's in her 20s again. Bye-bye 3,000 milligrams of Tylenol arthritis a day. I am an RN for 14 years. I have never seen anything besides insulin have this much success this quickly. These supplements are absolutely amazing. They are a must for anybody with anxiety, depression, cholesterol, diabetes, fatigue, uterine, bowel, insomnia, hormone problems, tummy problems, and joint inflammation and pain. PM me for more details. Less than 3 weeks after that post, Aleen was dead. Investigators also read Kandise's Facebook messages to her mother. Grandma's almost off her insulin, and she has only been on Q-Core for 5 days, she wrote on December 22nd. At least some people were curious and hopeful about what Kandise was claiming. I was just telling my dad about this today. He seems very interested, one woman wrote. I'm telling you, Mary, I have never been so impressed with a product from a healthcare standpoint, Kandise messaged back. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this because I love my parents and family and friends, and this gets people off their damn pills. Kandise was upbeat. Patience and prayers, my dear, she posted on December 31st. Grandma is off insulin after 2 weeks on Q-Core. In another post in a Facebook group, Kandise spoke more about the supplement company. Call it what you want, but this company and Q family that goes along with it is something like I have never seen before. Not to mention the products are truly such a blessing to everyone's health and will be in many, many years to come. I'm an RN for 15 years, and you all know me. I'm not one to sugarcoat, BS, or sell things if I don't 150% believe in what I'm selling. I'm not doing this for the money, although it is amazing. I am doing this because I want to continue to help people and be the hands and feet of Jesus, like he has done for me in my life. PM me to find out more, or don't, but I'm telling you, you are missing out. And more importantly, you are withholding something that could help your family, friends, and loved ones to get off their pills and feel better. So by a nurse that has nothing to lose and everything to gain, just to see people get healthier. She added the vitamins were produced in the USA by a true Christian family that wants nothing more than to see the world feel better. Sometimes Kandise was very explicit in her messages. Diane, you need to get Gus off his fucking insulin before he gets sick, she wrote to one person. According to the prosecution, Kandise had been living with Aline until New Year's Eve 2021, when she moved out. Into the new year, Kandise's social media posts continued. Grandma is 81 and literally off all of her damn pills and insulin, she wrote on January 5th, 2022, 3 days before her grandmother died. I love you like my own mom. I just want you to feel better. What if you never needed all those damn surgeries? You just needed someone to listen and care. Kandise also kept trying to sell Q-Core. I will give you your money back after 30 days if you don't see a difference, but I'm certain you will, she posted. Investigators had also downloaded a video of Kandise from her Facebook account. It was played in court.
What I found out with Grandma, when I took her care over 3 years ago, she was on 18 different pills. She was on 70 some units of the long-acting insulin twice a day and like 30 or 40 of the short-acting. And as the time has went on and the more knowledge I've gained and the more strength I've gotten from God, I've realized that, hold on, we don't need this much. This is ridiculous. Let's change her diet a little bit and see what happens. That made a huge difference initially. Well, then we kind of reached a plateau where she was just, she's stuck on these lower doses of insulin, which insulin just makes you hungry, which makes you eat more, which makes your diabetes more. It's a vicious, ridiculous cycle. Seriously. And again, if there's anything you've ever trusted me on, please trust me on this. I'm just in shock. I have another patient I put on it. He only had 2 days of the supplements and his blood sugars are already down in the 200s and they were running in the 300s, even with insulin. So I'm just not sold on the insulin thing. And the sliding scale insulin, honestly, the short acting where they say take 6 units at supper, with supper, before supper, after supper, whatever the doctor that you see tells her, it's a wild goose chase.
In the video, Kandise also talks about how Aline had contracted COVID.
And this whole COVID thing, I've not been able to get a hold of her doctors. So I've kind of just taken it into my hands and God's hands and prayed a lot. And honestly, God put this on my heart for a reason. I have seen God move mountains. I have seen God do miracles. And I have seen God show up in my life every freaking day for the last 494 days. And I'm bound and determined that he is going to show up for me on this. And he is going to give me the energy, the strength, and the guidance and the knowledge and the people that I know to be able to help people. Because I tell you, I watch my patients nowadays. They don't get anything from the healthcare system. It is the sickest, saddest thing ever. And their poor families don't know what to do for them because they're not getting anywhere neither. I honestly feel like this is my God's way of saying, here, Kandise, you're going to be a disciple of mine. You can help people and help their families and help patients to feel better. And you can tell them about me. What more can I ask for? Anywho, I'll keep you posted. I'm waiting for an answer on how to do this overseas. And honestly, I will climb on an airplane and personally deliver it if I need to, for real. Well, I can't do that because I don't have the vaccine and I'm not allowed on an airplane without a mask and whatever else the other stupid rules are that they have right now. I also want to share that testimony as well. Like, I'm not vaccinated. I want nothing to do with the vaccine. I've been saying this whole time through COVID, the last 2 years, Dana, I'm going to trust Jesus. I'm going to say my prayers. I'm going to take my vitamins. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks ago, God set this opportunity in my lap. Like, I can't be more excited, for real.
Kandise's defense attorney, Joseph Coppy, pushed back during Lieutenant Stetzer's cross-examination. Now, you read to us some of the Facebook posts. These posts were generally in a thread where Kandise is trying to sell vitamin supplements, right? Lieutenant, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 3. And at the top, it says, Grandma is 81 and literally off of all of her damn pills and insulin. If Aline Schrader was the one who decided to stop taking her insulin and her pills, as opposed to a decision made by a third party, that would be important to know, wouldn't it? Well, I guess I can't speak for Aline in the decision that she would make, Lieutenant Stetzer testified. But there's nothing in this exhibit indicating who made the decision, is there? Coppy asked. From this post, no. Did you talk to anybody who said Aline wants her insulin and Kandise won't give it to her? Again, the answer was no. Turning your attention to Exhibit 4, Grandma almost off her insulin, and she has only been using Q-Core for 5 days. Again, no indication in that post who made that decision to start using Q-Core? Lieutenant Stetzer agreed. No indication what Aline's feelings on taking Q-Core are there? Not in the post, Lieutenant Stetzer said. Now, going back to your interviews, after having reviewed the Facebook stuff, did you ask the defendant if she had taken Aline off of insulin? I did, Lieutenant Stetzer said. She responded that it wasn't her responsibility to force Grandma to take her medications. He said Kandise had listed what type of medications that Aline was on, and again said she wouldn't force Aline to take them. He said Kandise told him that at times, Aline would forget to check her levels, or that it was unknown what amount of medications she was taking. Assisting Lieutenant Stetzer had been another detective on the force, Jim Martin. Detective Martin was helpful in ways other police officers weren't. Detective Martin was diabetic. He had type 1 diabetes and had been on insulin for 20 years. Detective Martin analyzed a blood glucose meter, or glucometer, which had been found at Aline's home. The device was used to test blood sugar for people with diabetes. They would prick their fingers, put a drop of their blood on a test strip, and then load it into the device's port to get an accurate reading of their current blood sugar levels. Detective Martin said he was very familiar with those devices. With his intimate knowledge on diabetes, Detective Martin sat in on the interviews with Kandise. He testified, "So the statement that stands out in my mind was that when it came to managing the diabetes of the decedent was described as doing their best between 200 and 300 milligrams per deciliter, the value that would be displayed on that glucose meter." Why did you remember that? Why did that catch your attention? The prosecutor asked. Well, those are very high numbers. Those are not numbers that I would expect, Detective Martin replied. The defense objected to the line of questioning. After a brief sidebar, the prosecutor said, "I have no further questions." I always have so much respect for those people who are good at meal planning. You know, those who get all their ingredients together on a Sunday afternoon and prep their family dinners for the week. With my kids being so little, there's just no world right now where they would even leave me alone for that amount of time on a Sunday. And it's a bummer because during the week, things are just so chaotic that having to spend time shopping for ingredients and then actually making a home-cooked meal is really hard at this point we're at in our lives. But I did find something that has been working for me these last few weeks: Marley Spoon. With Marley Spoon, they send you recipe cards with all the ingredients so you can make the meal yourself, or they also have Marley Spoon's prepared meals, which are exactly what they sound like. Meals that are already prepared for you. Convenient, delicious, and on the table in minutes. You'll find these on every weekly menu. And if you've got a few extra minutes, they have some great 20-minute options too. My personal favorite hack is the tray bake dinners. You literally throw everything on one tray and then boom, you're done. And they even include the tray. We recently had their 4-cheese ravioli with tomato sauce and garlic green beans, and it was perfect for not only my husband and me, but the kiddos loved it too. What I love about Marley Spoon is how ridiculously easy it is, and how no matter which type of meal you choose, it tastes like you just made everything from scratch. I did have some extra time last week while my daughter was at soccer practice, and I made their fully loaded beef quesadillas, which were just amazing. This new year, fast-track your way to eating well with Marley Spoon. Head to marleyspoon.com/offer/court for up to 25 free meals. That's right, up to 25 free meals with Marley Spoon. That's marleyspoon.com/offer/court, and make sure the word court is all in uppercase for up to 25 free meals. Marley Spoon, meals reimagined for real life. I'm about to tell you something kind of embarrassing. A few months ago, I started using Rocket Money to help track my expenses because admittedly, I am not very good at finances. And I discovered some shocking things about what I was spending that I didn't even realize I was spending. One example is a kids app that I had on my phone, not the free version, but a paid version that my daughter, when she was super little, used to play with, but that I hadn't touched in, let's just say, a very long time. It was connected to my bank account and took money out every month, and for whatever reason, I didn't even notice it. Unfortunately, that wasn't even the only one. But fortunately, those are gone now, thanks to Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Not only can Rocket Money track your subscriptions and lets you cancel within the app with just a few taps, but you can also set goals and budgets, get personalized insights and regular reports, and get real-time alerts for anything noteworthy, like large transactions, upcoming bills, or low balances. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/court. That's rocketmoney.com/court. rocketmoney.com/court. Officials first believed they were handling a case of an elderly woman who had passed away from medical issues, a death that was not unexpected. But the morning after Aline Schrader's death, when family members began raising their concerns about Aline's care at home, and Aline's body was retrieved from the funeral home, Marathon Chief Deputy Medical Examiner Christine Wimmer did an additional examination. I brought her back to our office where I was able to complete an additional external examination and photographs, she testified. At that time, I also made the decision to draw a toxicology and then scheduled an autopsy. Christine Wimmer's role was investigating deaths, whether they were natural or suspicious. She wasn't a doctor. I have an associate's degree as both a paramedic and a registered nurse, and I've worked in the healthcare setting since 2005 in some way, shape, or form, she testified. She had been trained and received the American Board of Medical Death Investigator certification. She learned what to look for at the scene and how to interview family members. She also had done additional training, shadowing cases with investigators and pathologists. Wimmer, along with a Wausau police officer, escorted Aline's body to the Fond du Lac County Medical Examiner's office for the autopsy. She explained that part of what they do is to gather medical records, review police reports, EMS reports, or anything else that helps them make a decision as to what happened. What she found was that EMTs from the fire department had visited Aline's home multiple times in the week and a half before she died. Wimmer tracked down the records. In one instance, Aline had fallen and needed help getting back up. I did see that on most of those occasions, they would check her vital signs, including a blood sugar, and her blood sugar was quite elevated from what normal would be. And then there was one instance on the EMS report that the decedent had fallen. She had stated that she might need to go in and be evaluated, and the decision was made by her power of attorney for healthcare that she would not be taken in that day, Wimmer testified. When the EMTs responded, they performed a test called Glasgow's Coma Scale to see how alert Aline was. On the scale, 15 was the best and 3 was the worst. Aline measured at 15. That meant, presumably, Aline knew who she was and was aware of what was happening. After doing some research, Wimmer also realized that Aline's Foley catheter and IV that she had in place before her death had not been authorized by any doctor. Then the autopsy findings came back. It was very evident that the decedent had an uncontrolled blood sugar level. She also had signs that she was in a condition called diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a complication of diabetes that can be very severe and lead to death if not treated, she testified. She said there were also significant changes with Aline's heart, that she did have signs of coronary artery disease, but there were no signs that a heart attack was imminent. She said, and then she had other medical conditions found that were consistent with her medical history and age. The results from the crime lab also provided some more details. Aline's blood sugar level recorded from the vitreous fluid in her eye was 326, although it was likely higher as she was dying a day earlier. The cause of death was officially diabetic ketoacidosis. Here's how the Mayo Clinic describes it. Diabetic ketoacidosis is a serious health condition that can happen as a result of diabetes. It can be life-threatening. The condition develops when the body can't make enough insulin. Insulin plays a key role in helping blood sugar, also called glucose, enter cells in the body. Glucose is a major source of energy for muscles and other tissues. Without enough insulin, the body begins to break down fat as fuel. This causes a buildup of acids in the blood. Those acids are called ketones. If it's not treated, the buildup can lead to diabetic ketoacidosis. Symptoms often come up quickly, sometimes within 24 hours. Under cross, Wimmer described the condition's symptoms: dry mouth, an unusual thirst, excessively going to the bathroom, stomach pain, rapid deep breathing, a fruity-smelling breath, headaches, muscle pain, fatigue. Kandise's attorney, Joseph Coppy, asked Wimmer, now you mentioned there were other, I forget the exact phrase used, but there were other medical conditions that you noted present. Would one of those other medical conditions include the presence of a COVID infection? Wimmer said yes. Aline had tested positive for COVID. Her heart was also significantly enlarged. What's the average weight of a human female's heart? Coppy asked. It should be less than about 445 grams, Wimmer responded. Aline's heart weighed 660 grams when she died. That put her at risk for congestive heart failure or developing a heart arrhythmia or suffering cardiac arrest. The defense also asked about the EMT reports that said Aline was alert and cognizant. This is the EMS report from December 31st. I'm going to read from this. I want you to verify that I'm reading this correctly, Coppy said. Patient refused further evaluation and care from Wausau Fire Department. Patient refused transport to the hospital for further evaluation and care. Patient was informed of the importance of further evaluation and care. Patient signed appropriate refusal paperwork. Did I read that correctly? Wimmer said he did. So according to EMS, Aline Schrader was alert and oriented ×4 and refused on her own to go to the hospital? Wimmer agreed. Then another incident, January 1st, a week before Aline's death. Patient stated she only wanted help up and did not want to go to the hospital, Coppy said, reading the EMT report out loud. He asked, isn't it true that when a person signs a power of attorney, they retain the right to make their own healthcare decisions as long as they're in the right state of mind? Typically, the power of attorney has to authorize, Wimmer started to answer. Coppy interrupted. That was not my question. My question was, as long as they are in their right state of mind, do they retain the right to make their own healthcare decisions? Wimmer said yes. Thank you, Coppy said. No further questions. What happened next in the courtroom was a flurry of back and forth redirects and recrosses. On redirect, Wimmer was asked about another instance from January 4th, 2022. 4 days before Aline's death, there was another EMT visit. This time, Aline fell out of her bed and needed a lift assist to get back up. Fearing for her health, EMTs wanted to take her to the hospital, but like the previous calls, Aline did not go. How was that decision made? Who made that decision? Can you read that portion for us? The prosecutor asked. Wimmer read from that EMT report. Power of attorney adamantly denied wanting the patient to be transported. Power of attorney now came out of the bedroom and stated that she wanted the patient to only be lifted and placed back into bed. Medical crew advised that she should be assessed in the ER due to the hyperglycemia, and power of attorney then administered the patient's sliding scale of insulin. Power of attorney adamantly denied the patient wanted to be transported. Medical crew placed a blanket under the patient and was able to lift and place the patient back into bed. Patient was placed into a position of comfort. Power of attorney then placed the patient's CPAP mask on her and was able to care for her for the remainder of the night. Vital signs were attempted, but the crew was told by the power of attorney that these will not be checked tonight. Patient did not sign the signature form or refusal due to the power of attorney being on scene. Power of attorney Kandise Sheahen was able to sign the signature form and refusal form. No questions were asked. The prosecutor asked Wimmer if she wanted to expand on her answer she had given the defense regarding, do people still have control to make their own healthcare decisions if they also have a power of attorney? Wimmer gave a longer, more nuanced answer this time. An individual who has an activated power of attorney can make decisions, but typically the power of attorney has to authorize any care or treatment that's provided in the healthcare setting to an individual with an activated power of attorney, she said. In their recross, copy asked, this was from January 4th of 2022, and you had indicated that that was when Kandise refused to allow EMS to take her grandmother to the hospital, correct? He pointed out the report specifically stated Kandise had given her grandmother insulin on that particular EMT call. The prosecutor then returned. So she gave her medications on that one instance? Prosecutor Sidney Brubaker asked. The defense objected. Calls for speculation. The judge sustained the objection. Kandise Sheahen was charged with negligently subjecting an at-risk individual to abuse, causing death. She went to trial in 2025, nearly 3 years after Aline's death. In the courtroom, the prosecutor said, this is a case where Ms. Sheahen took the victim off insulin and substituted a vitamin, Q-Core, and I would point out that this victim was vulnerable. And why did she do that? He said prosecutors believed that Kandise hated and distrusted the medical profession. The defense argued that Kandise didn't get rich selling the vitamins, but did it because she truly believed in alternative health care. My client wasn't making tens of thousands of dollars off of this, her attorney told the jury. She wasn't driving around in a $300,000 Mercedes. She was doing something she genuinely felt could help people, because there are a huge percentage of people throughout our society who have various vitamin deficiencies. Before Kandise's trial began, another case was garnering attention in the UK, where another former nurse who was said to distrust the medical profession was in court. At just 23 years old, Paloma Shemirani died in 2024 from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Paloma's mother was Kate Shemirani. According to media reports, Kate urged her daughter not to seek chemotherapy, which the coroner later said would likely have saved her life. Kate called chemotherapy a mustard gas. And so instead, Paloma began doing 5 coffee enemas a day after she moved in with her mom after her cancer diagnosis. Paloma's brother publicly blamed his mother for Paloma's death. He said Kate had radicalized her, sacrificing her own daughter for her beliefs. Paloma never received medical treatment as the mass in her chest got bigger and bigger, according to testimony, until you could see it protruding externally. She ultimately died from a heart attack, which doctors believe was a result of the tumor compressing her airways and blocking her arteries. Kate accused the paramedics who responded of killing her. According to the BBC, at the inquest into Paloma's death, coroner Catherine Wood said Kate's influence did contribute more than minimally to Paloma's death. According to testimony at Kandise Sheahen's trial, Aline had a catheter and an IV, but there were no records of any doctor ever authorizing either one. The procedures to put those medical devices in hadn't been done at a hospital, but it wasn't Kandise who did it. It was her friend, Leah, a registered nurse. Leah was helping Kandise check in on Aline because Kandise was sick with COVID. According to court testimony, the IV fluids might have helped Aline feel better as she struggled with her diabetes-related symptoms. And she was a fall risk. She had to urinate frequently, so the catheter would eliminate her need to get up to go use the bathroom. Leah was called in as a witness to describe what she saw in Aline's home. She testified that she went over there 8 times and noticed that Aline wasn't eating or drinking very much. She said she saw Kandise give Aline her insulin and even pleading with her to take her pills. Kandise even implored Leah to try to help convince Aline to take her medicine. Leah said she was successful one time, but 2 other times Aline wouldn't back down. "I don't want that crap," she recalled Aline saying. In their closing arguments, Kandise's attorney told the jury, "Leah told us she was feisty. She had spunk. Aline Schrader was making the decisions about what medications she took and how much insulin she received. My client didn't deny her. She was doing everything she could to get her to take those medications." He pointed to the autopsy report and said there were 2 diabetes medications in her system. He said if Kandise had taken Aline off of her pills in December, those wouldn't be there, but they were. And the only way it gets there is if Grandma is getting her pills at least some of the time, he said. But the prosecutor warned the jury not to trust Leah's testimony. Grandma's not here. She cannot defend herself. And so when Leah testifies, she knows Grandma is not here. She can't contradict her. And you have to remember, Leah is a nurse. She put in an IV and a catheter without a doctor's permission. That goes to credibility. You have to think about that, the prosecutor said. Leah is part of this. She's got a motive to testify in such a manner that she minimizes her exposure and her friends. So you have to take that into consideration. Many of Kandise's Facebook posts were used against her during her 3-day trial. Remember, words matter, the prosecutor told the jury in his closing arguments. He said Kandise had deprived Aline of her basic needs, insulin and medicine. He said they have direct evidence in the form of Kandise's Facebook posts. He also reminded the jury that Kandise was also the power of attorney over her grandmother. Twice, she intervened and wouldn't let the EMTs take Aline to the hospital. Kandise's attorney came out swinging in his closing arguments. As for Aline's health, attorney Joseph Coppy said, "There are millions of people who have complex medical situations. Shouldn't the state have presented some kind of evidence that her complex medical situation put her at some special level of risk beyond what everybody else who has complicated medical histories have? There was no testimony on that, not one word. Words matter, yes they do. Not once did my client ever say, I took Grandma off of her insulin. I took Grandma off of her pills. How do we know that's the truth? Actual testimony, actual evidence, not, well, maybe from something that's posted on Facebook." He said Kandise used Facebook as a sales pitch. What she posted was supposed to generate sales. So how do we know whether or not that affected her care, he asked. He said not only did Leah witness Kandise giving Aline insulin, but so did an EMT who testified. According to the defense, Kandise was dutiful and loving. She spent years taking care of her grandmother. She's sick with COVID and is still going to her grandmother's house. She's trying to provide the best care she can, Coppy said. He told the court that Kandise respected Aline's choice and self-autonomy, that she did not force her to get injections or take medicine she didn't want. Aline Schrader was making the decisions about what medications she took and how much insulin she received. My client didn't deny her, Coppy said. They were trying to get her to take medications, but they respected the fact that she was an adult woman who could make her own decisions, and she said, I don't want that. He said the reality was that Aline was dying, and Aline knew it. I'm reading to you from Exhibit 17. This is Christina Wimmer's medical examiner report. Quote, Schrader was aware that she only had a few weeks left to live. Schrader mentioned the morning of January 8th that she was ready to go and it was okay. He said Aline wanted to die at home. She wanted to be at her house, in her chair or on her couch, and not in a hospital surrounded by beeping machines. He said Aline was already in bad health with her diabetes and obesity, so when she contracted COVID, it was the final straw. He said COVID was deadly for Aline. You must return a verdict of not guilty. That's the law. I'm asking you to follow the law. The jury deliberated and then found Kandise Sheahen guilty of negligently subjecting an at-risk individual to abuse, causing death. But what should Kandise's punishment be? The prosecution recommended prison time, 3 years. I believe prison is the only answer, they said. The defense argued probation only. The two sides clashed once again at Kandise's sentencing hearing in August 2025. The victim is dead, Judge, the prosecutor said. This is a serious homicide. I believe when we're looking at everything, the defendant let her hatred of the medical profession get in the way of the care of the victim. And then you have a selling of Q-Core. This is a serious homicide made more serious by the defendant's lack of remorse. When she was asked by law enforcement if she was still selling Q-Core after the victim's death, she said, yeah. How do you think I make a living? Because this fucked up my nursing career. So post-charging of this offense, she was still selling Q-Core. We need to protect the public from Kandise Sheahen. As for why Kandise should go to jail, the prosecutor listed their reasons. Because Kandise was focused on acting like she was the victim. Because Kandise was dangerous for playing doctor and giving other people medical advice. He asked for 3 years of incarceration and 3 years of extended supervision. Kandise's cousin Jonathan wanted an even harsher punishment, 25 years in prison, the maximum. What makes this even harder to process is that Kandise was responsible for the care of others. She was a registered nurse. She took an oath to take care of others, both professionally and personally, Jonathan Schrader said in his victim impact statement. 4.5 years later, Kandise has never shown remorse. Even now, to this day, she continues to deny responsibility and believe that she is the victim. This refusal to acknowledge the truth only deepens our pain. The impact on our family has been devastating. Most of all for me, there is one image I will never be able to forget. The photograph Kandise took and shared on my grandmother's Facebook page and in text messages to family of my grandma's lifeless body, a pale, bloated, decomposing corpse with Kandise's daughter smiling and posing next to her. That act alone is cruel, disturbing, so deeply disrespectful, and will haunt me forever. Jonathan then slammed the more than 24 character letters people submitted on her behalf. Let me be clear, Your Honor, Kandise Sheahen is not a good person. She puts on a facade that she is a loving, caring, godly woman, but the facts have and still do prove otherwise. Facts don't lie. What Kandise displays in front of others is not really who she is, he testified. Kandise should never be able to practice medicine. She should never have the ability to take care of anyone, ever, whether it is a senior like my grandmother or a young person like her children. She is a danger to their health and well-being. Given Kandise's extensive history of harming people, she cannot be trusted in society for a long time. Next, Kandise's defense lawyer and Kandise herself got a chance to argue for a lighter sentence. The state is also making arguments today about a homicide case and talking about her intent, but we are not here on an intent case. This was charged as negligence, a failure to use reasonable care. That's a mistake, Kandise's attorney said. The critical mistake was lowering the level of insulin. It was 80 units. She took it down to 10. This was a decision made in good faith, but it was the wrong decision. He then asked all of Kandise's former patients to stand up in the courtroom. Many had come to support her and wrote letters to the judge, saying she always went the extra mile as their nurse. They have told you without fail that Kandise Sheahen cares deeply for her patients. The fact that she may have questions about Big Pharma does not make her an aberrant individual, he said. He told the judge that Kandise, who had no prior criminal record, had already suffered enough punishment without going to prison. Kandise's nursing license had been suspended. Some of her family and the community looked at her with scorn. And above all, her grandmother was gone. When it was her turn to address the court, Kandise said, "I lost my grandmother, my best friend, and my angel, and I will carry that grief for the rest of my life." She told the court how Aline's children had placed Aline in a nursing facility, and Kandise had rescued her, bringing her into her home instead. She took Aline on outings to the fair and the pumpkin patch, although times had been harder more recently as Kandise's family got sick with COVID. "I reached out to agencies. I reached out to family, and nothing was available. Despite being very sick myself, I did all I could do to make her comfortable," she said. The night before she passed, she told me, "Thank you for being my angel." And those were her last words to me, and I will treasure them forever. Kandise said she didn't feel like she was the victim, although she added, "I have lost my nursing career, my reputation, many of my friends, and my ability to volunteer freely, which is the most devastating part of this. My family has felt the impact deeply, and I know my 2 girls are watching how I respond, and I want them to see that even in the hardest times, we take responsibility. We take responsibility, keep our integrity, and move forward." The judge then spoke. There was no doubt Kandise loved her grandmother. There was also no doubt that Aline's death had broken the family. It's not surprising that this case has divided the family. It's understandable that some in the family have felt victimized, isolated. To Kandise, she said, "I don't think what occurred with your grandmother necessarily exhibits a pattern of conduct. It's a serious mistake that I do think was motivated by financial gain, but I do believe it appears to have been an isolated occurrence. You are by all accounts an outstanding member of the community. You have volunteered at a number of places." And then the judge handed down her sentence. Warning that the sentence might anger some of Aline's family, she then sentenced Kandise to serve 9 months in the county jail and 6 years of probation. And that's all for this episode. This episode was researched and written by Gabrielle Rusin. To hear the episodes without the ads and hear additional Court Junkie bonus episodes, you can check out my Patreon options at courtjunkie.com/support. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.
Pluto TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
What? This is the mindset.
Free.
This is the mantra.
Free.
This is the mindset.
With movies like Joe Dirt, Pixels, and 50 First Dates. This is awesome. And TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts. Pluto TV is always free.
Huzzah!
Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
You're welcome.